This is the Wally and Methot Show, powered by Barrhaven Ford. Now here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Mark Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Brent Wallace. He's Mark Methot. And this is our fourth WAM Live show, and it's brought to you by, as always, Barrhaven Ford. Check out their new lineup of Roush-inspired BFC custom vehicles at barrhavenford.com, or, of course, stop in at 555 Dealership Drive in Barrhaven. Also, later in the show, we have a contest coming up from Barrhaven Ford about giving away free Sense tickets. Stick around for that. As always, we invite you to stick into the YouTube chat, comments, all kinds of questions you have. And today, we're going to make Craig work a little harder in the back as he monitors the chat, because we're going to have you ask some questions for our guest, Elliotte Friedman. He's on the show today. We'll call him the incomparable because that's what I wrote, but really, he's just a legend, an award-winning journalist from Sportsnet. Of course, his highly popular 31 Thoughts, which I think he called 33 Thoughts this week. So I don't know if he's tired or what's going on with 33 Thoughts. He promised me he wouldn't cut his hair until after this show. It has become a whole entire, it's like a living thing into itself. So we're going to see what that looks like. And of course, the interview is always quenched by whitewaterbeer.ca. Get 15% off your order at shopwhitewater.ca. Use the Wally Methot coupon code. Whitewater Beer, brewed by friends for friends. And I'm proud to call him our friend. Welcome to the show, the legend, the big guy, Elliotte Friedman. My friend, how are you?
Not bad at all. You know, I do have to say one thing about Brent and our history. So, you know, we became friends not long after we first met each other, and I was at Brent's wedding. And, you know, at the wedding, he said to me, he goes, Elliotte, I just want you to know I'm really happy you're here. But before I met you, I really hated you. Like, I watched you on TV, and I thought your personality was smarmy and egocentric. I really hated you. And I said to him, wait a sec, you're telling me this? Like, this is what I'm getting from you? But, you know, I have to say, I have always loved my friendship over the years with Brent Wallace. He tells me the truth, whether I want to hear it or not, and you always need friends like that.
This interview's over. This is 2004 because it's our wedding reception. It's in Ottawa. We got married in Mexico. We came back, and James Cebulski has been a good friend of ours, both my wife and myself. And so we're at the reception, and all of a sudden I look over and see James, and next to him is Elliotte. And I'm like, I didn't even know he was invited. He just showed up. So I do remember that day. I'll never forget. I'm like, Elliotte Friedman's here. Why is? And so anyway, we've been very good friends. I've enjoyed many conversations with you about lots of different stuff.
And by the way, I gotta say, you and Mark, you guys, this is a great podcast. Like you guys have done. I know a lot of people around the league who listen. I know a lot of people on our work with me at Sportsnet listen, and we'll often shoot notes about some of the things we hear. Like, you guys have done a great job with this thing, and I'm here to ruin it. So let's go.
Thanks, Elliotte.
It's all on Meth, by the way. Whatever Meth wants to do, we just do it, and that's how the show makes it.
I do absolutely nothing. I come on here, I talk a bunch of BS, and Wally does all the prep. So I got to give props to Wally. Not that we're doing this here for the entire show. I'm sure at one point we're going to want to move on here, but I want to make it very clear to everybody watching. Wally does almost everything, and I just come in and smile.
Okay, well, I have a story about that too. So, Mark, like that in our business, as Brent knows, that's the way it goes. You're there for the people you know and your expertise and insight into the games. And people like me and Brent, who have no friends and no expertise into the games, we have to find other ways to make ourselves valuable. So there was one night on Hockey Night in Canada when it was still at the CBC. The panel, the hot stove that night was me and Eric Francis and Mike Milbury. So every week, our producer, Brian Spear, would say, Eric, what do you have? And he'd say, Elliotte, what do you have? And then he'd say, Mike, what do you have? And he'd go, I'll just talk about what these guys are talking about. And this continued for about 3 or 4 weeks. And finally, Milbury said, look, you guys have to understand the way this works. And I knew this. I was okay with it. But he got tired of answering the questions. He said, you guys have to understand how this works. Eric and Elliotte, they are the chefs. They prepare the meal. They cook the meal, and me, Mike Milbury, I eat the meal. And that's the way this segment works. So I look at you, Brent, he cooks the meal, he prepares the meal. and your job is to eat the meal. So I get
That's
it.
fair.
100%,
I like that.
100%,
And you know what?
yeah.
You're giving me a little more confidence. I feel a little less worse about it now. And obviously Wally's going to hate you for that. And you're probably going to get a couple texts from him afterwards. But anyway, I appreciate that, Elliotte.
I'm used to hate texts from Brent. Like, it doesn't bother me.
This is not true. It's just a couple about the way you dress, but we'll get to that after. I feel like a cooking with meth episode is coming up here shortly. One of the things, can we just get the hair out of the way first? Like, what in God's earth is going on here? Have they not told you to brush it once?
I love it, by the way.
You know, when I first started at Sportsnet, the hair's always been a little bit out of control, never like as long as it was this year. But, you know, one of the things they said was no spiked hair. So every time I would come on the show, they would, like, someone there would comb my hair, one of the makeup people, Hillary or Leanne, and they were great at it. And then eventually they hired a hair cutter, like a hot stylist, to come in and do everybody, but it was mainly because of me, because my hair was so bad. And this year, I actually did say that it got to a point where I'd be driving, and Mark, you've had long hair. So when it's windy out, you know, you'd have your window down in the summer, the spring, and it would blow all over my face, and I'd hate it. But the problem was you couldn't technically get a haircut, right? And so Sportsnet was like, we don't want you doing anything illegal. And I wasn't getting a Flowbee or trusting my wife to do it. So, so my wife did my son's hair, and I'm like, you're not doing that to me. And so we just decided to wait. And as you know, Brent, like this year, because it's been a tough year with the beard last season and some of the suits and the hair now, I just wanted to make people laugh. Like, it's been a hard year. And, you know, one of the things we have a new social insurance, social insurance. We have a new social engagement person, Danny Garcia. And one of the things Danny talks about is engagement with your followers. And what she said to us was, if you just like things, it goes a long way. So the people on Twitter and on Instagram, they were having a hilarious time with it. And I was liking a lot of their tweets or posts, and they would write back and say, like, oh, you made my day, or, you know, my parents can't believe you just liked my tweet, or my friends can't believe it. And I think if you do something like that, you know, it makes the fans feel like they're part of your show. And I see big value in that. So that's what it's all about. I'm getting a cut this week.
I agree completely. Like, you can be engaged, but can you not comb it? Like, why couldn't you brush it or put like hairspray in it? I don't understand. I don't understand how some boss didn't come to you and went, Elliotte, this is a disaster of epic proportions, and you need to fix this.
You know what I think the problem is? It's that in the humidity and things like that, there's no control over it. Like, when I got down to Tampa or Montreal and I'd walk to the rink from the hotel, like, you couldn't. There's nothing you could do about it. It just had a mind of its own. It's like Medusa.
I do appreciate the fact that you bought all in. Like, you were all in now on this whole, whether it's the beard or the hairstyle. Like, you don't give a crap about anybody and what they think. Like, you are the boss. You're wearing the bright red suits and green suits, and you're a legend in yourself already. Well, you just walk around and go, I don't care anymore.
Yes, I think there's a lot of that. Like, you know, one of the things is, like, first of all, Brent, like 20 years ago when I was younger and starting out, I wouldn't have done this. Like, you know, Mark, it's comparable to when you're a rookie in the NHL and when you're 15 years in, like you were. When you're a rookie, you kind of do like, hey, you know, I'm just going to keep my head down. You know, I don't want to rock the boat. I want to get comfortable. I want to carve my spot. And then you get older. And when I got to Sportsnet, they were like, can we try some new things? And, you know, the other thing too is, you know, when Don was there, nobody did this because it was Don's thing, right? And it's almost like stealing his shtick. And I kind of don't like it even now when people say, oh, you know, you're trying to be the next Don Cherry, because nobody will ever be like that. Like nobody will ever have his influence, and nobody will ever have like he would go to Fabricland and he would pick that stuff. I don't do that. It's like they say to me, Elliotte, how about this? Like, he will always be on a level that I will never achieve. But now, you know, I'm older, Brent, you know, I can I feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin. And I think now, and one of the things I do tell young students who I speak to is that there's so much feedback now. Like before, nobody could get to you. They had to leave a voice in a voicemail. You could press 7 and delete it. They could send a letter to the editor. Maybe one would get printed. They'd send a feedback form to a website. You'd never see it. Now they come right to you on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter.
Yeah.
You can't escape it. And I tell people, you have to have a thick skin and you have to block it out. It's not always possible, but you have to be able to say only a certain amount of people's opinions are really going to matter to me. And one of the reasons I do this is because I do try to tell young people that stuff is going to come your way and you have to limit whose opinion really matters to you.
I think it's important. One, I didn't even think of the whole Don Cherry and trying to copy that kind of thing. So it's interesting you brought that up. The other one is I completely understand about now being more comfortable in your skin. Like the first few years we would do this Christmas special and I was like, no way am I wearing a Christmas sweater on TV. And then eventually became a Christmas sweater. I wore a Hamburglar mask once and blew a duck call, like all kinds of stuff. You're like, I would never have thought of doing that earlier. So that stuff I appreciate. So I appreciate the entertainment value of which you bring, and you also bring a journalistic broadcast side, but the entertainment value I always tune in for, like people that stop me and go, what is up with that guy's hair or whatever. So I appreciate that part more than you probably realize. Let's ask some hockey questions and we'll get back to you maybe after. And that let's go with Pierre McGuire. We both know him very well. We've worked alongside him. Did this surprise you at all?
Absolutely. I didn't see it coming. I woke, I slept in a little bit today. I woke up just before 9 o'clock. I usually try to wake up at 8, but I slept through my alarm this morning because I'm lazy. And so I missed Bruce's story and I woke up, like I had my phone had a lot more texts on it than normal. And I was like, what happened? And it was all about that. So I saw the note that the team sent out. I was shocked. I didn't see it coming. I didn't know it was coming. Sometimes you have an idea on things. This one kind of came out of nowhere. I think the one thing here that I think will answer a lot of our questions is, does an extension get worked out for Pierre Dorion? Dorion has 1 year left on his contract. I believe they are talking to him about an extension right now. If it gets done, and the sense is I'm getting it's going to get done, then I think, I don't think we have anything here to really worry about. If it doesn't get done, then I think we're all going to be wondering, okay, what exactly is going on here?
Right. And for those who don't know, Pierre McGuire named Senior VP of Player Development today by the Ottawa Senators. The question, though, Elliotte, it seems that you don't have a GM who signed past this year or your coaching staff, that there's a lot of question marks going on. And if this team struggles early on, if they don't have a deal going into the season and they have another season that starts like it did last year or even remotely disappointing, is there going to be wholesale changes? And is Pierre McGuire in line to be now the next GM of the Ottawa Senators?
Well, I think what we just talked about may answer a lot of those questions. Does an extension get worked out for Dorion? And because I think it does answer a lot of the questions. If he does get an extension, and like I said, I've heard they're discussing it now, then their question is answered. If it doesn't get done there, then I think we have a lot of questions. Like I think the Senators need stability. There's been too much instability for a long time. Look, you're growing in the right direction. Dorion had to navigate a lot of challenges, and you can debate this move or that move, but I look at the overall picture, and to me, if I was a fan of the team, I would say roster and where we're going, I would feel comfortable that we're headed in the right direction. I know where all the Senators fans are concerned. They look at the history and they say something always happens. Like the iceberg always appears in front of the Titanic. There's never a smooth navigation. So what I would be screaming for if I was a Senators fan right now, and I think the organization should be aware of this, is don't let the iceberg be self-inflicted. I think they should extend them. I think they should make sure that DJ Smith is taken care of. People talk about some of the stuff that McGuire has said on TV about analytics. This is what I would say. You guys, Mark, you haven't worked in TV a lot. Brent, you have. People. sometimes we have our TV personalities and our real personalities. Sometimes we step out and say or do things on the air purely for the entertainment value. When Pierre McGuire said this morning he believes in scouting, I believe that. I think that's the way he thinks. That's the hockey environment he grew up in. But I think that he should use analytics. I think it matters. I think a lot of teams are doing it more and more now. And I'm prepared to see how he feels about them and give him a chance to prove that it can be meaningful to him. But the thing is, I look at DJ Smith. Sorry, Mark. I look at DJ Smith. I can't imagine that Pierre McGuire, a guy who believes in all the things he's talked about, would have a problem with DJ Smith. Like, why wouldn't Pierre McGuire, based on the way he talks, extend DJ Smith or argue for that extension?
And has he ever, Elliotte, and forgive my ignorance, has Pierre ever actually gone out there and flat out said that he's dismissed analytics? Like, has that ever actually happened?
Yeah,
like
he's been. I don't know if I've ever said dismissed, but he's been aggressive against them. And
so people are basically just grasping at straws here, trying to find some kind of negative to kind of pin on him, right? Or is that just getting blown up?
He has said things before that are anti-analytic.
Yeah,
but the thing is, the problem, Mark, is that, like I said, I always wonder what's your real personality and what's your television personality.
That's a good point.
The thing is, like, I think the other thing too is I also think that Pierre McGuire wants to be a good executive. He wants to be a good executive. And you can't be a good executive anymore if you completely discount them. You can't. And he has wanted this opportunity for a long, long time. I find it very hard to think that if he is determined to be as good at this as I think he wants to be, that he will just say, don't bring that stuff to me, because that's a recipe to fail before you even begin.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen a few guys jump back into the league after being out for so long. And I know John Davidson is one. And even we saw Randy Sexton was out for, I think, a decade before he got back in with Florida. Is the time off that big a deal? And no question, he's been around the game. Does the 23 years or how long it's been, 25 years, matter that he hasn't been an executive?
No, not to me, because I think he talks to a lot of people. He knows a lot of people. He's seen a lot of players, both at as you mentioned, his son is a pretty good player, and he's been around youth hockey because of that.
Yep.
To me, you love it or you don't, right? And he clearly loves it, and he's passionate about it. Like some people don't like his personality. That's immaterial to me. We're always going to meet people we like and dislike. I'm sure, Mark, you fought for guys you dropped the gloves on your teams for guys who privately you hated their guts.
Couldn't agree more.
That's the way it works. Like my father always told me, you're going to come across people in life that you don't like, but you have to work with them, and you have to, like, even if so, like, but the thing is, McGuire, he loves hockey. He does.
Yes, no question.
And at the end of the day, if you have a passion for your subject, you have a chance to be great at it. I really believe that.
Yeah. And I think he's going to be all in. There's no question that he will devote every minute he can to being involved in trying to make the Ottawa Senators a better hockey team. So why is he so polarizing then? Because for me, he's only ever been good with me. Ellie, you know what it's like when you used to work down around doing like interviews with players. You cross path with guys occasionally. Pierre would do that with me, and he'd actually say really nice things. He was very approachable, very personable. But then you go online, and again, it's social media, of course, and we all know the key figureheads out there that kind of like to trash on him a little bit. But for me, it's like he's very passionate. He's incredibly knowledgeable. I don't understand why there's such a divide about this guy. I just don't get it. Is it just the outlandish remarks that come out of him occasionally that kind of create that divide, or am I overthinking it?
No, I don't think you're overthinking it. Like, look at Stephen A. Like, I don't think Pierre is like Stephen A. Smith, but like for a long time, I didn't like Stephen A. Smith. But then I realized, you know what? This guy's just having fun, and he's putting himself out there. Like, he says stuff to get a reaction.
Yeah.
And I think Pierre was like that too. I think he said some stuff to get a reaction. like he's out there. Like he's really out there. He's not afraid to make controversial statements. He's not afraid to say things that he knows might not get him social media love.
Yeah.
I like, you can't ignore him, Mark. Like
I agree.
He's loud. He's out there, and that's the way that's the way he is. I think the key is like I said, I think at the end of the day, he really wants this. We all know he's had opportunities to be a general manager before. He's interviewed before. He hasn't gotten them. He never gave up. He wants to be it. I think that's a great base to start with.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I look forward to it. I regardless of whatever he can do with the team, that it's going to be at least entertaining from a media point of view. And so I look forward just to seeing what's going to transpire. And I just think his title, Senior VP of Player Development, is just a title. I think he's going to have a lot more to say. Yeah, I think he's got a lot more to say. So
I never get stuck on titles. I think they're irrelevant. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be fun. So one of the things they're going to probably have to discuss, and aside from the expansion draft, which is coming up, is Brady Tkachuk, because he's not done. What are you hearing about Brady Tkachuk? It seems awfully quiet. Now, I will preface this by saying it's not uncommon to go right down to training camp before we see any of these big deals kind of get signed with RFAs.
Mm-hmm. I think with Brady Tkachuk, I think the Sanders would love to sign him for as long as they can. I think one of the things we're kind of learning right now is that the cap is going to stay flat for about 2 or 3 years, maybe 4. And then a lot of people are kind of saying around 2024, 25, they think it'll start to open up. A lot of the best players who are RFAs at young ages, Barzell took 3 years. We believe Pettersson's going to come in around 3 years. Brady's brother, Matthew, of course, came in at 3 years. I think there are a lot of the good young RFAs are taking 3-year deals. Point took a 3-year deal, although that was also Tampa's cap situation. I wouldn't be surprised if Tkachuk says, I'd like to do something like that, and then we'll work from there. Because people think the cap is going to go up around 2024, 25. So why lock in before that occurs? I think that's the biggest conversation. That's the toughest thing that Ottawa's going to have to do to convince him to come out of there.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting though, because Eugene Melnyk said he's not going to get the captaincy if it's not a long-term deal. Do they still give it to him at 3 years?
Look, I think at the end of the day, first of all, I think sometimes, and Mark, you can tell me if you think players disagree. Sometimes I think the captaincy is a little bit overrated.
No question.
Totally agree.
I think at the if Brady Tkachuk doesn't I think you have to navigate this with your player. If it's something that really matters to Brady Tkachuk, then if you're Ottawa, you have to massage that. But the other thing is, knowing Brady Tkachuk, the limited amount I know him, but just watching him, do you think his approach is going to change one bit if he doesn't get the C?
Nope.
No, you're
I
right.
agree.
His game won't change. I think right now, if you're an Ottawa fan, I think they're putting a ton of pressure as we speak on Pierre for that long-term deal, because he's such a highly likable player on and off the ice. So he's that unicorn that we have in the organization here in town that everybody just wants to see locked in, because it's reflective of his view of what his viewpoint is on the organization and vice versa. So I think for a lot of people, that 3-year deal, although I do agree with you, Elliotte, if you're a player and you have that confidence, you're going to take that 3-year deal versus something long-term based off of what the cap's going to be doing in a couple of seasons. But I think right now I feel, this is just my feeling, that Pierre's getting a lot of outside pressure on getting something long-term done. And I just don't think Brady's going to want to do it. But with regards to the captaincy, I agree. It's just a title. It means nothing.
Right. So Mark, if he doesn't sign, I don't think it's Pierre Dorian's fault if Brady Tkachuk doesn't sign a 8-year
I agree.
contract.
Yeah.
Because you can't hold the player at gunpoint and say, sign this. The player has a choice too. And if you take a look at a lot of the young star players right now, they aren't signing 6 or 8 year deals. A lot of them are going for if this had happened 4 or 5 years ago, even 2 or 3 years ago, you look at the Toronto guys, you look at McDavid, you look at Draisaitl, then you get Tkachuk on an 8-year deal. I just think right now with the pandemic and what it's done, you're probably looking at a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
But the problem is in Ottawa of losing all the star players.
Yes, I understand.
So that
But
makes
you know,
the fan base queasy.
Exactly.
I understand that. I do get that. And that's why I think it's important. Like, like one of the weird things that kind of happened this summer was this whole Jack Capuano, DJ Smith thing. Like, I don't like the message that sent, to be honest. Jack Capuano gets a chance to interview in Buffalo. Ottawa says no. And one of the rumors that starts coming out there, well, what if we get off to a bad start and we have to make a coaching change? Well, to me, that's crazy town. Like,
Yeah.
DJ Smith has, I like DJ Smith as a coach. I think he's a demanding guy, but I think he really cares about his players. And if you look at the way last year started to take off, once you guys got some saves, I would bet on that. And to me, if you're Ottawa and you can't sign Brady Tkachuk for argument's sake for 8 years, then one of the ways you can say, okay, we're going to make sure we have some stability here is we're going to extend DJ and we're going to extend Dorian. That's one way you can make your fans say, okay, like we've got this now. Like I would be, those are the guys I would say we can send a stability note with.
I agree, but it's not done, Elliotte.
Yep.
And so everybody's now going, now we see Pierre McGuire could replace Pierre Dorian. And now we see Jack Capuano, maybe the guy waiting for DJ Smith to fail. It sets up a whole lot of instability in around, like if you're DJ Smith and you're going into this season without a contract right now, are you going like, if I get off to a bad start, I know who's replacing me because they didn't let him interview. It's a tough spot to be in for guys.
You know what I would do if I was DJ Smith? I'd set a deadline.
Yeah.
I would say if I'm not extended by this date, and maybe it's the opening of training camp, then we're not talking it out during the year.
Oh wow!
And you bet on yourself.
Yeah, that would be bold, but I would appreciate that move. Has anyone ever really done that?
I'm sure. Yeah, it's happened before with some players. Yeah. Like I've seen players do that before.
Oh, with players, yeah.
Coaches, I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's happened, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who did it? This was a long, I'd have to remember the exact situation, but Jacques Demers, when he coached St. Louis, you remember in the 80s, he went from St. Louis to Detroit, and he walked when they didn't sign him, and he went as a free agent to the Red Wings. But I'd have to remember the exact circumstances, but it was something similar.
No, fair enough.
So I want to go just to the Jack Capuano thing for a second, because it tried to get reported that it's very common that coaches don't get to interview for head coaching jobs if you're an assistant. Now, I know he's called an associate head coach, so you can fudge the words a little or the titles, but the reality is they didn't allow him to interview for a job that's a higher position, and that's not common in the NHL. In the NHL or in professional sports, you are allowed usually to interview for other jobs that are higher up. What message does it send to Jack, who by all accounts was not happy not being allowed to do it?
Well, just a couple of things. Number one, you're right, Brent. It generally is accepted that someone gets to interview for a promotion, but there have been exceptions, and
sure.
I'll give you some examples. One exception I know of was in one particular case where a team had an assistant general manager who'd been given had interviewed for some places, and the team, what they did was they gave him a new deal and a raise, but they told him, if you accept this new deal and a raise, you can't interview for any GM jobs. So we want you here for this time frame. I think it was 3 years. And that was a situation where the guy took the raise and accepted the deal. So that's, and the other one was Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas, the year before he became general manager, Colorado asked to interview him for the GM job, and they did, and he got offered the job. And at the last minute, Toronto kind of withdrew permission. They said, you can't have him. And I remember the story I heard was when that got out, actually Mike Babcock went to Brandon Shanahan and said, well, you've got to make him the GM now because you can't block a guy like that. So what that says to me is either Ottawa has a policy, which I've heard, some people have said they have, or he's there as a safety net. So that's the only explanation for that, Brent.
Yeah, it's tough. I just think it's tough on Jack, but we'll move on because it doesn't affect my life, I guess. That is.
It all comes back to you.
Yeah, and how this affects me is Are we going to see a lot of movement here after the expansion draft? Like
Yes.
we're hearing about Tarasenko and Jack Eichel, and there's a few others that want trades or deals. What's going to happen?
I think it's going to be really busy. I do. I think there's some, like Philly was in on Seth Jones. Like he wouldn't give them a long-term commitment, so I think that's kind of off right now. Like one of the names I'm starting to kind of hear out there is like maybe Montreal doesn't want to lose Jake Allen potentially for nothing. But if you're going to trade for Jake Allen, you could lose him for nothing. So
Right.
I think, I think there will be some things, but I think it probably, what's Vegas going to do in goal? Are they going to bring back both these guys next year, or are they going to move one of them? So I think there's a lot of talk about things like that. I just think that teams are very careful. They don't want to trade themselves into an expansion problem, right? So I wonder if a lot of these things are going to happen after it's over.
You just commented on Jake Voracek the other day from the Flyers.
Yeah.
Why is it that they're looking to move him?
I think one reason is money. He's 3 years left at 8.25. Like I'll tell you this. Like I was stressed. People stressed to me this was not acrimonious. Like when I got on it, I had some people who said to me, like, please don't write this as Flyers angry at Voracek, want to get rid of him. It wasn't just the Flyers necessarily who were saying that. It was other people, like even like other teams and some people who knew Voracek were saying that to me. It took me a while to track them down. And, they just said that financially they needed some flexibility. And also I think last year was a tough year on a lot of people. You look at all the players who are talking about potential, asking for trades or wanting to move, just like life, this was a hard year on a lot of people. So players are like a lot of other people out there who just are talking about the quality of their life. So I think Voracek had a really frustrating year. I think Philly had a frustrating year with him. Yeah. And I think they're just exploring it. And as I wrote and I was told, if he ends up back in Philly this year because they can't move him, then they'll just deal with that too.
Fair enough. Why is it called 33 Thoughts this week?
Because my last week of the year. So if I have any extras, I put them in. That's why it's 32. I had 1 year, I think it was 44. I was supposed to do the Olympics. I'm not doing them anymore. So I was just worried I'd be out of time and wouldn't get to do another one.
It confuses
Elliotte,
me.
Yeah.
I wanted to get one question here because I obviously followed you guys through the entire playoff. It was an excellent coverage, by the way. Every time you guys started up a broadcast, Juice, Kevin Bieksa, for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, would chirp you.
Yeah.
What's behind all that? Was that just friendly banter that was going on? Obviously, I know it's not serious, but I mean, It seemed like it was designed that every single show you guys had, he was going to start it off with a chirp.
Yeah, and I'm good with that. I think the audience loves that for one thing, Mark. I do. Yeah. And I've had, when Berkey was on, I remember I was at a Shoppers Drug Mart once, and Mark and some guy came up to me and he goes, "I'm really sorry to bother you, but do you and Brian Burke dislike each other?" And I'm like, no, and it's all fun. And that you played against Kevin, that he's a yapper, and so that's his personality. And I gotten him back a couple of times, Mark, but he is so good at it, and he is so he'll go down to a level that I won't go to. So I know that if I get him back, I'm gonna get it worse. So and plus also, Mark, as on teams, there's you need guys on teams that you can take shots at and they'll just laugh.
Agreed.
So the team can just relax in a losing streak or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with being that guy. If someone gets a good shot in at me, I can laugh my head off at it.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the people in Pittsburgh told me that Crosby was a lot like that. When he was younger, if guys took a shot at him, he would just laugh his head off. And if Sidney Crosby can handle that, I can certainly handle that.
Yeah. And it speaks volumes of your character. Because I do know one thing, especially playing in a very hostile environment, like an NHL dressing room, for example. Yeah. If you get chirped and you react every single time in a very hostile manner, you're fair game for the rest of that year or perhaps your career. So the fact that you laugh it off is huge. So props to you for that one.
Well, Mark, it's when you're we're during the playoffs, we're together every day. even when things are going well, tempers get short from time to time, or someone does something that annoys someone else, maybe even not intending to. You got to be able to diffuse the situation.
Agreed.
And you make it easy, right? So you do bring it on yourself quite easily, which I appreciate.
Thanks, Wally. I appreciate that.
Okay, just back to the playoffs for a sec. What was it like to be in Tampa, to have real fans, and to see that kind of celebration after it's been such a long 18 months, 2 years kind of thing?
Oh, it was so good. Like I was in Montreal for games 3 and 4, and that was the first time all year our group was able to go for dinner, right? Like Kevin came in, Cassie came in from Calgary. Unfortunately, Kelly couldn't travel, but I went out to dinner a couple nights with Ron and Kevin and Cassie, and Eric Engels was there, and Sean Reynolds was there because he was in from Winnipeg, and it was just nice to sit down at the table and talk to people. We hadn't been able to do that all year. And, to walk to the rink and see all those people outside the game in Montreal, it was awesome. And then Tampa to see a full rink, like that was weird. Getting on a plane, Tampa, full rink, no mask. It was like, I got to tell you, like, it was great to see. Like, it was just like, man, I can't wait till this is normal again. And that building in Tampa, those fans that night, they were like, we know we're winning the cup tonight. They were so like, sometimes you go into a building, the crowd's nervous. Those people weren't nervous. They're like, we're winning the cup tonight. It was awesome. It was awesome.
That's great.
It was fun to watch. Okay, I told you we probably keep you for a half hour. We're past that.
Okay.
I'm going to bring in Craig, who's got some questions for you. I didn't even tell you we're going to do fan questions either. But so basically, I've lied to you for this entire show. So nothing new.
I got to tell you, Brett, like none of this is a surprise to me.
This is why this is so good. Craig, I want to welcome you into the show. Has the chat been busy since you won't let me see it?
Yeah, they've been going on through it. Actually, you guys did a really good job of answering a lot of the questions already. There's still a few left that are some pretty good ones that we're gonna hit you with, but you guys touched on a lot of things people wanted to hear today, so that was pretty good. Why don't we kick it off with one? You kind of touched on Brady Tkachuk a little bit. The Sens have Paul Perry is asking if there's any update on Drake Batherson and his contract. He's another restricted guy that's going to need a contract here at some point. Have you heard much on that?
No, obviously I've heard that there's a lot of willingness to get something done, and I think that's another guy the Sanders would like to lock up as long as they possibly can. But I haven't heard anything. Like, to be honest, I've been focusing more on Tkachuk. Maybe that's a reminder I should start looking into Batherson a bit more.
Is that a domino that maybe needs to fall first, or is this one of those ones where it's like whoever will sign the contract first kind of goes?
Well, I think what is probably more like in some situations, I think there's a domino. Like I think in the Island, it's Pellick first, and then they kind of figure out everything there. Number one, you guys have a lot of cap room, so that it's not quite as pressing. But number two, I'm betting that by now you kind of know where everybody stands, right? So like there's no way Dorian and the Senators don't already know what everybody's thinking. So depending on making agreements, I don't think you'd have much trouble with that.
Okay, that's a good one. You mentioned earlier that you didn't see the Pierre McGuire news coming. Mark B's asking, has Ottawa become one of the harder teams to maybe hear the whispers and scoops about?
That's Pierre Dorian would like my answer to this question to be yes. I think Ottawa, there have been some phases. Like right now, it's been tougher. I will say that. There have been times, I'll tell you a funny story. There was one time a couple of years ago where you guys were looking for a president of hockey ops, and the Senators made a lot of calls, like Yzerman, Dean Lombardi. I think Trevor Linden was another guy they reached out to. And I before an Ottawa game, I put a board up. And the next day I got a call from someone who knows some people in the Ottawa organization. They're like, are you bugging their phones? They want to know if you have direct tap in. So I would say at times it's been easier. I would say right now it's been a little bit harder. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that. I think teams try to keep information. If you have to make me work a little harder, that's fair game.
Okay, that's a good one. I remember it would always used to be hard to break trades. You guys were always pretty good at getting ahead of those ones, but every now and then, so that's good to know that they can still keep a secret every now and then.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you, it's a funny league. Some teams are better than others, and some things people work harder at than others to protect. So it's always a challenge.
Perfect.
Do you and Lou Lamoriello have lots of chats together?
So the favorite answer I get from Lamoriello is, why would you even bother asking me that?
My favorite Lou Lamoriello story is he's in New Jersey at the time, and their building is the locker rooms are kind of side by side, and I'm running down to do an intermission interview because I was upstairs doing something. I had to wait till Lou Lamoriello was in the hall. No one else is allowed to walk the hallway until he's out of the hallway. I'm like, I got to get to the air. And he's like, you're waiting till he's out of the hallway.
Oh yeah, you're always going to lose that in Jersey. You're always going to lose that in Jersey to Lamoriello. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Anyway.
Perfect.
Next story.
Yeah. Let's rattle a few more off here. Kadri Sens fan is asking, do you have a favorite memory covering the Ottawa Senators? Is there like a Sens story that you have, or a favorite moment you kind of look back on?
Oh, there were some like the Stanley Cup final run of 07. That was like a great. I think I was with them every round in that playoff. So that would probably be like, people ask me all the time, like, who's the favorite player you've ever dealt with? And my answer is always Alfredsson. I dealt with nobody that was more understanding and better to deal with than Alfredsson was. And, as a Sens fan, you have to know that like, I had to interview Alfredsson after some really tough losses, and he was always incredibly gracious and incredibly forthcoming. I once did, when the All-Star game was in Ottawa, I did a panel with Alfredsson for some sponsors, and he was fantastic. Like, I love dealing with Alfredsson, and I would say that 07 Sens run was one of the best, one of my favorite times covering. I covered a lot of Senators playoff series, and those players were always great to deal with. Like fantastic. Loved it.
I got one last one here. This one comes from Enzo Aiello, and he's asking, and you probably get this question a lot, and it's just, what's the best trade rumor that you never really pursued because it was maybe a little bit outlandish, or you heard something? What's a rumor that you thought was kind of maybe out there that actually turned out?
Well, I'll tell you a Senators related story, and I have told this story before, but it's been a while, and maybe it's been forgotten. But when you guys went to the 07 final, you guys had a lot of time off between the third round against Buffalo and the final against Anaheim. And Alfredsson was gracious enough to allow us to come to his house and spend a day with him at his home. And I had heard a rumor that he was considering retiring if the Senators won the Stanley Cup. And he said to me, could I trust you? And I said, yes. And he goes, yes, it's true. I will retire if we win the cup. I have some other things that I want to do with my life, but you can't report it. And I kept that secret for a long time. I think until he retired, as a matter of fact. And that's one of those things, like, I wish you wouldn't have told me that. What am I supposed to say? But you're only as good as your word, right? And
right.
I kept that one. Like, Mark, like, I'm sure, like, you trusted people, or teammates who felt they trusted people, and either you, like, word travels fast. Like, if Brent or I are not trustworthy, everybody in the league knows it really fast.
Yeah,
so you're
exactly.
only as good as your word. You're only as good as your word.
It's well said.
Nice. I got one last one here just to wrap it up, and then we can.
Sure, Craig.
And this one's more for me because we've heard your phone dinging the entire time. I think you tweeted at some point throughout.
Well, no, you know what? Like, Jeff Merrick had a little scoop about Mitch Love leaving the Western Hockey League for Stockton, and I like to boost my teammates if I can. Yeah,
no, that was great. I was more just going to ask, like, what do you do to disconnect? Like, that seems like a hard, like, my job was hard to disconnect from, and I had to leave it. So, like, what do you do to disconnect from your phone when you don't want to hear the dings or you don't want to miss something? Do you have any tips for anybody that might be trying to?
Well, I'm not as good as I should be. Like, my wife, she's, first of all, to be even married to me, you have to be an angel, and now she's a double angel. How much I work. One thing I always tell young people is, and this is not quite disconnecting, but I have a 10-second rule. If I'm not talking about a trade rumor or something hockey related, I always look at the tweet button for 10 seconds before I press it, just to make sure, is this still a good idea? Like, that's something I really like to advise young people. But the one thing I started to do, Craig, is, like, I'll take a timer and I'll set it for 5 minutes. and like you can't touch your phone for 5 minutes. And eventually I've started to move that up a little bit more. I'm not as good as it, Craig, as I should be, but this August we rented a cottage, and the Wi-Fi you can turn off.
Okay,
for
that's
2
good.
weeks. For 2 weeks. If I come back and I look even worse than I do now, you'll know I made it. But honestly, that's it. Like honestly, Craig, it's a timer. Start small and then eventually go longer. Refuse to touch it as long as the time goes.
Nice. Awesome.
Good advice.
Yeah, it's great advice.
Elliotte, one of the good, I really appreciate you stopping by, and I know it kept you way longer, but it's been good to see you. One of my favorite times all time of you and I was, we bumped into each other in Blue Mountain in Collingwood.
That's right.
And we got hammered together that night at the bar.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
I forgot about that. That was right after, that was a few years ago. That was 2016. Yeah. That's right. Anyway, guys, like, keep it up, guys. Like, this is, like, I really believe that this is the future, is that it's not going to be about it's going to be about our own names and the things we do. And like the Sanders fans, it's obvious. Like I have a list and I follow some people who are Sanders fans and they love this show. And just keep it going, guys. Keep it going. There's room for all this stuff.
Thanks. Well, if you could stop doing yours, we'd have a little more room. So
don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Elliotte, thanks for stopping by. That is Elliotte Friedman from Sportsnet, and you can enjoy his podcast, 31 Thoughts, and he writes a whole bunch of other stuff, and he's very good and needs a haircut. We look forward to seeing you again down the road. Enjoy your August and your off season, my friend.
All right, guys. Brent, Mark, take care, guys. Craig, good to see you guys. Alex, thanks a lot, my man.
Take care.
There goes Elliotte Friedman. It's such a good, enjoyable time to see him around. Anyway, now we have something to talk about, Matt, and we've got a huge contest coming up, and everybody's excited about the the season that's about to start with the Ottawa Senators. So Barrhaven Ford has now pulled in. They've got 4 tickets to give away for opening night in the 100 level. So they're going to do this around the draft. So the draft is coming up on the 23rd. So basically, you're going to go to barrhavenford.com, and you're going to enter who the Sens are going to take 10th overall in the draft. The winner will be announced on our show July 26th, just after the draft. The contest closes July 23rd at 8 p.m. Of course, that's when the draft starts. So go to barrhavenford.com and you can start to enter now. Also, by the way, if you go into Barrhaven Ford, you can see the beautiful Bronco they've got there. 555 Dealership Drive in Barrhaven, just near the Costco. Okay, let's move on. That was a great interview, Matt. And one of the things we don't get to do a lot is to talk to one another and just to, I guess, shoot the shit. And so those are the times I always enjoy, just to get other guys in it that have such a long history of stuff they've been able to see around the league.
Yeah. And I don't think I think you and I agree on this one, Wally. We can't overstate this enough. Huge thank you to Elliotte Friedman for coming on, because we know how incredibly busy he's been. He clearly looks like he needs a vacation at this point. So again, very thankful that he came on to kind of shoot it with us, and some really cool and interesting little tidbits that we got from him too, which was stuff that I was completely unaware of. And I don't even live in Toronto like Elliotte does. I'm right here at the epicenter like you are. And still there's stuff that gets by us. So thanks again, Elliotte.
So well connected. And it's a good dude. Okay, time now. Let's go to On the Points. Brought to you by sportsinteraction.com/WallyMathot. Sports Interaction is Canada's odds makers. Log on to sportsinteraction.com/WallyMathot. Get in on the action. Speaking of action, I want to start with NBA Finals last night. I know we haven't talked a lot about it because people weren't sure how this was going to go. Phoenix up 2-0. Milwaukee came out and just hammered them in Game 3. So now we have a series. So do they even it up in Game 4, or does Phoenix take a 3-1 lead, Matt?
Well, I'm a basketball fan, so I like this topic. I got the Greek freak Giannis getting another big game here, only because he had 40 points in that second game, I believe, or 42 points in the second game, 41 points in Game 3. I mean, this guy's hungry. I know you got D-Book on the other side there in Phoenix, who's been playing excellent basketball. But for me right now, I've got Milwaukee taking Game 4. I've got a feeling I'm going to be paying attention. And I know it hasn't been a really highly spoken on, finals. It's, you're losing some of the marquee players and names that you've typically had in the past. It's been a funny injury-plagued postseason there in the NBA. But in any case, I've got the Milwaukee Bucks winning again tonight.
I would like to put money on the fact of you pronouncing Johnson's last name.
Antetokounmpo.
Oh, wow.
You're welcome.
I'm floored. Yeah, that's like the mic drop and you can leave. He's like, I think the 6th player in NBA history to back-to-back 40-point games in the NBA Finals. Anyway, good for him. The first guy since LeBron James. Okay, the British Open is coming up. But before we get to the British Open that starts on Thursday, did you see the video of the fan who, in the Spanish Open, I think it was, who took the club out of Rory McIlroy's bag? And people are like, what?
Yeah, so they're standing on the first tee. Rory and his caddy are just standing there going over notes. As we all know, golfers walk around with the notepad. They're going over notes. And this random middle-aged man walks up, goes to grab, I believe, the driver initially, or one of the clubs, and can't really seem to get it out of the bag. So he grabs another club that had a club head on it, grabs that one, and the caddy and Rory are just kind of staring at him, like kind of perplexed, like, who is this pigeon who just took my club out of the bag? But, you know, you don't think anything of it, of course. And he just kind of goes over and squares up on a tee and pretends like he's going to practice a couple times until finally someone comes up. So I thought they handled it really well. They didn't really say much. Just let the security guys take care of it at this point. But it was very bizarre because the guy was so casual about it, right?
Yes.
He just kind of waltzed his way up and grabbed the club. So I don't know. It made for some entertaining television at least. But other than that, I have no idea what he was doing.
Just weird that he didn't get the club out, so the head cover comes off. But he's still like, well, I still need a club, so I'm just. But then I'm thinking, if you're Rory and the caddy, you don't say anything because now the guy has a club in his hand, so you just let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and it's not just that, because you can come across like a bit of an a-hole if you do attack the individual too much, maybe verbally. It's just optics wise, it's bad. That's why I thought the caddy and Rory handled it exceptionally well. Just stay back. Hopefully he doesn't snap your club. I'm sure you've got spares. But in any case, inexcusable. He got kicked out. That was it.
Massive. I couldn't even fathom thinking of doing this. Anyway, okay, let's get to the British Open. So Jon Rahm is the odds-on favorite to win this. He just dropped out of being number one in the world, and now Dustin Johnson is up to number one. Yeah. Who do you think perhaps is going to win this British Open? It's a tough one.
I was going to say, it's like pick your poison at this point, right? I just, based off of the past few tournaments, you had the disqualification in Jon Rahm there. I don't know, God, it would have been a month ago now, or a month and a half ago, due to COVID-19. Of course, he was asymptomatic, but unfortunately, with a 6-shot lead, has to withdraw from the tournament. Then goes on and wins the following. Which one did he? Was the Memorial? What tournament he won? Or which tournament did Jon Rahm win?
I can't remember.
I forget. It doesn't matter. The point is, he gets his win, ends up on top, number one, then drops back. But my point is, he's just such a likable person. Yeah. Based off of, the reaction, the fan reaction, a lot of the players, especially guys like Phil Mickelson, who were very outspoken with regards to Jon Rahm's character. To me, that speaks volumes when a player will put themselves out there and back you up like that. So I'm a huge fan of DJ as well, but right now I'm on Team Rahm. So I'm going to go
There's always a different way to play, obviously, the British Open, because of the way it's laid out. And so I don't understand. I don't know if it's good to pick an American or to go with the European. Is Rory McIlroy the guy?
So he might be. I don't know. I know it. It comes down, Wally, and it comes down to the hot hand, right? It could be some random amateur that just got on tour and might be standout for that specific weekend. And that's kind of the cruel thing about golf. But at the same time, why I can appreciate those top 20, 30, 40 players, because what an unforgiving sport, right? You have one off day and your tournament's over. So again, going to go with any of those top dogs. It's a coin flip.
Louis Oosthuizen is in 8th. I might pick him.
Yeah, fair enough.
He had a good tournament not that long ago.
He's a good player.
Okay. Speaking of golf, and we're going to tie it into hockey. Did you see Mike Modano's Albatross?
I did. His wife was caddying for him. I'm thinking boy, they must have a great relationship, because if I'm out there on the course and I'm whiffing on some shots, I'm going to be blaming my wife in a heartbeat. Why are you standing right there? But in any case, good.
You gave me the wrong club.
Yeah, anything, but beautiful shot. I mean, and I think there's a bit of a pride thing with me. Anytime I see an NHL player playing in one of those pro-ams or a tournament for that matter, I just want to see them do well, because it just looks good on the hockey community. And of course, when you're speaking on a Hall of Fame player like Mike Modano, I mean, it's, good for him. I was pumped. I could feel it with him when he buried that. You could see him celebrating with his buddies that were there on course with him. So yeah, big moment for Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, so would you and Ellie ever wallpaper together?
You know what? We built IKEA furniture together. So if we can do that without killing each other, I made that comment before on social media. I mean, we can pretty well do anything. And we were at odds sometimes over random stuff. I mean, right now I have 4 100-pound dogs that she plans on breeding over the next year and a half. So dealing with 4 burners like that in the house, that's a challenge in itself for me, because I'm not a huge dog guy. I didn't grow up with them. So, you know, you have to make concessions and sacrifices when you're in a marriage. And that's one of them that I've made.
I can't imagine the amount of dog hair
that is insane.
On your floor.
We sweep our house, and this is no exaggeration. We Swiffer and sweep and vacuum our place 4 to 5 times a day, and of course she does it mostly on her own. It's the same tiled up area through the kitchen from the dog run to the front door. There were always high traffic. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is, man. You know what it's like. It's you know, you just got to do it sometimes.
So good. Anyway, I love your dogs. I think they're fun.
They are great dogs. Yes.
Now, you brought up earlier on when you were talking, I think it was it France and Italy or Germany and Italy were playing each other, and you decided that you were going to take a shot at all the Italy fans. So I'm just curious of if you were in Preston Street last night celebrating the big win of the Euro 2020.
It's so fun. It's so funny, you know, and because I grew up enjoying watching the Azzurri play, because some of my closest friends were huge diehard. They were Italian and they were diehard Italian fans. So, you know, in those early 2000s, late 90s, when they were, you know, legitimate team, were all the World Cups, I was always on board with them. But then, of course, everybody, it doesn't matter if you're half French, half Italian as far as heritage goes. When Italy's playing in the World Cup or their Euro Cup, all of a sudden you're an Italian, right? Because, you know, it's time to wave the flag around and pretend like you're a national from Italy. But of course, it's a huge win for them. I'm happy for them. And I love seeing the passion in the fan base. I also love taking jabs at them. So I'm on the, you know, I teeter back and forth. Good for them. All the diehard wannabe Italian people were down on Preston having a good time. Good on them.
But leave it up to, and I don't know who started it, but Toronto Maple Leaf fans to be able to tie in England and the Toronto Maple Leafs for futility. Did you see this? The Toronto Maple Leafs were trending yesterday on Twitter because people were calling England the Toronto Maple Leafs of soccer or European football or whatever.
That's ridiculous.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's wild. No. I mean, was England? I know England was one of the favorites, but I don't think they were the heavy favorite as far as the tournament went at the beginning. I think France was, and they choked hard earlier on too. So, you know what? They should just be grateful that they were there in the mix at this point. And the comparison to the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's a little extreme. I don't think they're that bad.
It's so wild. Finally, I know you're a big MMA guy. Yeah. So one of the things, aside from the fight and all that, I just appreciate, or maybe I can't even fathom it, Conor McGregor is giving a in-ring interview with Seth Rogen while having a mangled foot. I know it's in a cast or in a support by them, but in a brace. In the corner. The fact that I'd be like, get me out of here now.
Yeah. And I mean, that's Connor. And of course, Joe's just doing his job interviewing. But I, you know, and Craig and I were having a discussion about that. I think for me, it's simple. I'm a huge McGregor fan only because I love the showmanship. I'm always, you know, we talk about it with regards to the presser when Kucherov the other day, if I'm going to tie it into hockey, you know, it can come across a little aggressive at times, maybe sometimes a little inappropriate, but it's entertainment. It's a very violent sport. McGregor has made it explicitly clear that he gets paid to bash guys' faces in for a living. So you can't expect a polished Harvard graduate up there giving an eloquent speech after a fight. You know, you're in a fight. It's very primal. Your emotions are running high, but it's a shame that his ankle had to go the way it did. He ends up losing that fight in their third matchup together. And of course, you think that Poirier and McGregor are going to fight again now at some point for a fourth, because I don't think that was satisfying enough as a fan base. But Craig made a very interesting point in that it'll be another whole year at least until we see them fight again, because McGregor's got to heal up from his ankle injury. Yep. Then he's got to get back into fighting shape, of course, which takes those training camps, especially for the big dogs, can take 6+ months. So, you know, I think my takeaway from the trilogy that we've seen so far between these two is I've got a greater respect for Dustin Poirier. He's very much a family man. He's a classy guy. He's very well spoken in his post fights. He's respectful. And again, so I think I'm kind of teetering towards him now, and I'm becoming more of a Dustin Poirier fan.
Yeah. I'm going to probably be unpopular. I'm just tired of Conor McGregor's act, if you will, and which is what it is. It's an act.
It felt forced. It felt forced in this third fight, especially leading up to it. Whereas in the past, you could kind of feel the passion a little bit, and it felt genuine. It felt a little disingenuous this time. It felt like more, hey, I'm trying to promote the fight, which of course we know they're always trying to do that, but it felt like that even more so this time around. So again, that's part of the business. I thought the fight card as a whole was really entertaining. I know Craig stayed up and watched all of it, but that's fighting. You're going to have polarizing figures like McGregor, and you either love him or you hate him.
Yep. Just like everything else, we're way off topic again. That is On the Points, brought to you by sportsinteraction.com/Wally Mathot. Go to sportsinteraction.com. They are Canada's odds makers. Okay, so Matt, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're being shown, like, we're worldwide now. So I looked it up the other day. We have been downloaded in 50 different countries, and including like the Seychelles for whatever reason.
Nice.
So basically, you're going to become the next David Hasselhoff. You're going to be huge in Germany.
That's true. That's true. He is huge in Germany. Yeah.
Germany, and I think is number 5 on our list of downloads. And it's clearly because Tim Stutzla and Christoph Schubert are watching every episode. But we're also big in Russia. And I think it's because, it got to do with our favorite Russian shark, Igor Sokolov. Here he is in the latest edition of From Russia with Sokolov, presented by Faces Magazine.
Hey guys, just want to let you know the stuff I've been working on over the summer. I got a good program, and I've been able to go on the ice with my brother and a couple other guys from KHL and working out as well. So, the stuff obviously is like skating and my ability, turn quicker and change the direction quicker. So the main focus off the ice is basically, trying to get used to moving my legs fast, changing direction fast, and obviously working on my strength and power. But the main focus for me is always going to be changing the direction quick and my edges and stuff. So it's something I've been focusing on over the last month, and I think I made a huge strides in improving. So I got almost two months to go, and I'm excited what's going to happen and how much better I can get.
As always, another great job by Igor Sokolov. We're going to have to get him back on the show, Matt, just to talk to him about his summer and what's been going on, and to get his thoughts on lots of stuff. He's got great opinions, so I'd be interested to see what he's got to say.
Yeah, he's a beauty. And I think as we move forward here, of course, we're both huge fans of his. I hope he makes a good push for a spot on this team. I know it's going to be difficult with a lot of young players, but he's put himself in a great spot after this past season. And now that we're seeing his personality unfold a little bit more, I think it just makes him more likable.
Yeah, for sure. I can see a bunch of Sokolov jerseys in the stands eventually here at some point. Once again, we're making Craig do all kinds of work today. Let's bring Craig back in. Maybe do some bit of trivia and maybe some fan questions if there's any questions left for us, because I'm sure they were mostly for Elliotte today.
Yeah. There's a couple there, but I like your idea of knocking some trivia out here first, because we got some stuff to give away. So today's trivia served up by our friends at Pizza Forno. Pizza Forno is a 24-hour automated pizzeria making tasty artisanal pizzas in 3 minutes, guaranteed fresh ingredients, never frozen. 2 locations in Ottawa, 33 Clarence Street and 1159 Bank Street. We got 5 pizzas up for grab today. So you're going to win it. You're going to score a code for up to 5. You can use one at a time. You can host a pizza party that I would probably attend. Check out their full menu online at pizzaforno.com. So we're going to go back to our Trent Mann episode, which was awesome. I loved it, by the way, boys. Brent, you had asked him kind of maybe who is there a player that he raved about drafting or that he had a soft spot for drafting? And the answer, Drake Batherson. He rattled off a lot of reasons why, right? East Coast was one. So he's they've kind of always had a little special tie there. So shout out to at Josh Moskovich, who got that one correct on Twitter. And so shout out to you. You're going to be sliding into those DMs, and you got some pizzas coming your way, Josh. So psyched for him. And thanks to our friends at Pizza Forno, for hooking us up. Man, I love giving away pizza. Yeah. That's good stuff. Everybody, because it can't go wrong. Everybody loves it. You get to pick your toppings. 3 minutes. I got 3 minutes for pizza. So yeah, it's good stuff.
It's a superfood. Now, Matt, have we discussed topics on your pizza? If you could pick 3 topics, what would you put?
Did you say topics? Toppings.
Toppings?
Sorry.
Yeah, toppings.
I'm all over the place.
I was worried we were
That's
going to
okay.
have to have another conversation, but yeah, toppings.
I'm pretty simple. I'm pepperoni, green olives, and mushrooms are like my staples, and then I'll add jalapenos or whatever else. But yeah, I don't add fruit. I can eat it. I'll eat anything, but typically I'm a savory guy. I like the salty stuff, like the pickles and the olives and the mushrooms and all that stuff.
You put pickles on your pizza?
No, I don't put it on pickle.
Okay.
Excuse me. I don't put it on pizza. I just meant I really gravitate towards that when I'm snacking in the kitchen before dinner and stuff. But yeah, on pizza, it's all the basics.
I don't like green olives. I think they might be one of the worst foods ever. Yeah.
Oh wow.
No.
Okay.
Brent, what do you get on your pizza, Brent? Are you a simple
I'm like
boy?
like a deluxe guy, like green pepper,
Yeah.
mushroom, bacon, pepperoni. But
Sure.
yeah, I don't like, so we'll have to get in our family half with olives, half without, because I can't do olives.
Yeah, we do that too. I can't, like my wife, like she won't go near a mushroom. So mushroom, I double it up on my half and she'll, you know, and then occasionally the odd mushroom kind of trickles its way over to her side and it just ruins her evening. So there we go.
Okay. So again, way off topic. I don't like I will have them on my pizza or whatever, but I will, if I can pick them out, I will. Because when I was really young, for like 5 years old, maybe, my sister told me like, hey, this is a potato chip. And it was a toadstool from outside, which basically looks like a mushroom, right? So I ate it and then had to have my stomach pumped out. So I'm not a big mushroom guy. Yeah.
That's a legitimate reason. So I can, I can't even chirp you for that. That sucks. That's
traumatized. Yeah. Sorry.
Right.
Anyway, Craig, sorry.
Yeah, boys, I have a little bit of bad news. It's not bad. It's not totally bad news, but Igor Sokolov he's back in Canada now. So I think that's our last one from Russia. So I might try and convince him to maybe rename it and we get some updates from.
I want more. Yeah, I want more
Breton.
Sharkalov updates. We can have them from Ottawa at this point. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a location-based segment. I think it's an
the
Igor.
personality-based segment.
Well, now he's in Cape Breton. He can just sit by the water and show us how beautiful the Cape Breton coast is. So yeah,
that's fair.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I also, and this is just for the live crowd if they're listening, I think when he comes back in Ottawa, we might show him some of the sights of the city, maybe take him to some spots. So we might ask for a little bit of help in the future to see if anybody has any spots or food or whatever you'd like to see Igor Sokolov review or just enjoy. Like, I think we might, don't tell anyone, I think we might try and do that at some point here too. Cool. We got to start get it back in the world here, boys. There's a lot of Zoom these days.
Yeah.
See some people in person. So yeah, anyways, good stuff from him. He's the best. Did you hear the thing that he's been doing? He watches like people play NHL 21 simulations for the Senators. Isn't that amazing? So he's watching people play out simulated seasons of the Ottawa Senators and like messaging. He's the best, man. That guy's funny. So anyways,
he's funny. I do enjoy him.
Yeah, good stuff there. Okay, so for fan questions today, you know what? You guys answered so many of them with Elliotte. There was just a varying degrees of that. One thing I think people have been asking about is just we're going back to Pierre McGuire here for a second. We kind of heard Elliotte's thoughts on it. Do you guys have a take on this? And I think what I'd like to do, and this is not putting you on the spot or anything, what's something that you're positive about and what's something that maybe you're concerned about? Because I think there's times where maybe we get accused of leaning one way or another, positive or negative. Just give me both. What's something that you're excited about and go, I like this? And what's something where you're like, I'm a little hesitant on this. Do you guys have any of those? I don't want to put you on the spot to like trash the movie. That wasn't the point.
No, I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when it comes to Pierre, I've known him since 1997 when he first started in broadcasting. I've known him a long time. He's very smart and very passionate, what we've talked about. He's all in, which is again, like you want people that want to do the job and want to sacrifice to make it happen. So there's no question he will devote every minute he can to it. The one question I have is when you're in the media for 25 years saying this and that about a player or this and that, it's fine. There are no consequences to you saying this is a good guy or this is a bad guy. But when you're in management and you're making moves and decisions on players, then it's live fire and you have to figure out how it is that they're going to work in your team. And so that becomes a whole different world that you have to fall under. Now, I don't have a problem with the hire. It doesn't like, I'm not up against it. I'm not pro yay or pro nay. I would like to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah, okay. I agree on. So, and Wally, for me, it's simple. My experiences with Pierre have been very positive. I still remember him pulling me aside during the New York series in the 2017 run. He was covering us then and nothing but positive things. He actually went out of his way to pull me aside and he had some very kind stuff to say about my game and where I was at. And that's kind of just left that positive memory of Pierre McGuire in my mind. I know
Sure.
he's polarizing. He doesn't even have social media, but there are some people are very vocal online with their disdain towards him. And sometimes it might not be warranted. Sometimes maybe it is a little bit, I don't know. But from my experience with him, it's nothing but positive. And that's my real answer. And every time I hear him on the radio or on television, you can hear his passion come through. You can see that he genuinely loves the game of hockey, and it's consumed him. It's his life. And that's a good thing. If you're going to put a guy like that in a management position in your front office, who literally lives and breathes the game of hockey and has a Rolodex worth of knowledge as far as prospects go and draft picks, Wally, just like you just touched on. For me, it's a good thing. I don't see an issue with it. I don't care if anybody, if you're somebody out there listening and you might have a negative spin on this, I can't back that up, because to me, it's a good hire. He's a positive guy. He'll be very contagious as far as his positivity and energy goes around the room. It's a good hire. So that'll be my take. I can't really think of too many negatives. I have, like Wally, you said, I haven't seen what he's like in that environment as far as an office position goes. But again, at this point, Ottawa needed more eyeballs, and they finally have some, and a legitimate person that knows a lot about the game.
And you talk about him being polarizing. And one of the reasons is because he strongly believes in what he says. So if he says something and you don't agree with, then people tend to form an opinion like, I can't stand him, or I like him because I'm on board with him. Don Cherry was the same way. There's lots of people that are the same way. And because you've reached the top of being, the pinnacle of NBC Sports, and you're the lead guy, you draw a lot of attention when you stick your neck out and have opinions. And that's what he's done. So the polarizing stuff and how people perceive him doesn't necessarily mean who he is, but it also means he believes strongly in what he says and what he does.
Yeah. And my last thought, basically kind of repeating myself, but I can't stress this enough. He's a very nice man. He's a very good person. He's a very positive guy. And if you've ever heard him on the radio or on television, you can honestly, you can hear that come through. So again, I think people need to not jump to conclusions here and rush to judgment. Like you just mentioned, Wally, let the process kind of happen a little bit. Let's see how he does, and let's see how the team does. And then we can start kind of pointing fingers when that time comes.
Yep. Fair.
I thought Elliotte did a good job kind of talking about personas. Like he talked about kind of like, I don't think the Sens hired the TV Pierre McGuire to yell and scream and be zany in the office. Like, I think they're hiring him for his thoughts and his whatever and experience and those types of things. So, I mean, I think that's where some of the lines can get blurred. Like if you're just expecting a wacky guy to say crazy things, like that's not what they need. That's not what they're looking for. I think they're looking for somebody who's got a name value that comes with a little bit of respect, that comes with, I don't know. So I think that's kind of the move. I don't have a problem with it. I think those are the kind of moves that hopefully, like one day, we don't even have to think about. Like we don't think it doesn't matter who those people are. Like I think it should matter what happens on the ice. So I mean, all these guys are going to have the opportunity to do that, and they're starting with a pretty good roster here. So I think it's a positive. I mean, it's nice to see fans pretty psyched about it too, for the most part. And I mean, if you're not, like, at least enjoy the chaoticness of it, right? If they did hire the TV, who knows? So I think if you're a Sens fan, this is one of those decisions where it's like, you know what, chaotically, it's going to be fun regardless. You'll either win or you'll lose, and that would happen with or without Pierre McGuire. So I think that I think it's, hey, you know what? It's a Monday in July. They're dropping Sens news, man. I don't hate that, so I don't have to report it anymore. So it's nice we had a live show time today. I thought Elliotte came in and did a nice job for us there. So is there anything else we want to wrap up with here, boys? I think all the fan questions, you guys did a great job. So
yeah, it's been a great show. Those are the fan questions brought to you by Gong Show. They have a July sale on their website right now, gongshowgear.com. And again, special thanks to Elliotte Friedman for stopping by. Also, if you want to order some mugs and t-shirts, which apparently I have to send now to Elliotte, go to our website, wallymathot.com. Guys, another show in the books, and I think this one was outstanding. So, Matt,
this was a good one.
Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next time. But for now, that's the Wally Mathot Show, powered by Barrhaven Ford. Time for us to drive on out of here.